Hi there, I'm Lisa-Skye for Bent TV, and today we're talking weddings-ish. Bum, 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 bum. With me, I have Toby Halligan. Hi there.
Hello.
And Liza Dezfouli. Hi there.
Hey, yeah.
What do you reckon?
Weddings. Very good. When it's mine, mainly. Like,
Love a wedding.
They're fine as a general rule, yeah. But
Is that why people do? They do it for the wedding, not for the marriage. It's really about weddings, not the actual marriage and ongoing.
For us, it was about
life sentence, sexual slavery, everything that marriage implies.
Well,
it's the party, isn't
yeah,
it?
I think, that was a lot. There was a lot in there. There was quite a
Lisa's
lot.
coming in hot, and I love it.
Yeah.
This is exactly the problem because my husband and I'm queer, polyamorous, all obviously, and we had to
The traditional side of polyamory, yeah.
which is just a shrug.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's not ritual scarification or anything.
No,
That's,
no.
No, I do have some of that, but
But it's mainly party times. It's
mainly party. Well, we got government married the day before our wedding, so we didn't have to do the man and woman thing because I'm neither.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we raced past to the exclusion of all others bit because we're like,
No.
Yeah. And for me and my husband, we basically were in Europe on a trip and began planning the wedding. And then we're like, hey, are we planning a wedding? Does that mean we're getting married?
that's amazing.
That's kind of what it implies. And then we were like, I guess we are. And we were kind of engaged-ish.
Yeah.
And then we realised, oh, well, we should probably actually follow through and do the thing.
We've got this cart. Should we chuck a horse in front of it?
That's exactly it. Well, we've kind of told, and we began telling people about it, and then they're like, great, when's the thing you've committed to doing? We're like, oh, now we've really got to do the thing. But we tried to make it all our own. So our wedding rings, this was my mum's, Tom's was his grandmother's, because we didn't really want the whole buying jewellery for people, the
mine's
sign
silicone.
of, look, I've got enough money to support my bride. There were as many female speakers at the wedding as there were male speakers when traditionally, mums don't even speak, whereas my mum gave easily the best speech.
So you upturned all the traditions, even though you were doing something traditional.
We walked down the aisle. It was Edinburgh Gardens, not a church.
Yes.
We walked down the aisle to the theme song from Jurassic Park that was played by a string quartet, nee, nee, nee.
So beautiful.
And as we were doing it, one of our friends' kids ran out in front of us, right? And everyone was like, oh, that's lovely, isn't it? She was this adorable 2-year-old redhead. She sprints down through the arch and everyone else is, oh, great. And then they turn back to us. We can see that she's continuing to go, right? So as we're walking down the aisle, we're watching this 2-year-old who's gone from the oval we were getting married in to the next oval, and then we see her mum come from the right, just this red blur and tackle her, and so we both were kind of laughing as we actually arrived at the arch.
So she photobombed your wedding in person.
Did. It was
Actually,
easily the best moment. It was the best moment. It was a 2-year-old who probably doesn't remember anything that happened really, and our ring bearer was our greyhound Banjo. Who was very confused, but was very happy to see dads.
Yeah, just happy to be with dads, whatever. Yeah.
The dog has to be part of the whole proceedings.
Yeah, he's the dog's son. Yeah.
Well, mine was a lot more traditional. I actually married a bloke. I married a man who was here on a tourist
That's okay
visa.
too. We think
It's fine. I mean,
he
so did
couldn't
we.
speak English, but when he asked me to marry him, I said yes because I didn't want to be racist. He was a Muslim. I didn't want to be Islamophobic. It was double the pressure.
That's very tolerant of
that's
you.
how
Yeah.
it was. I overstretched my commitment to multiculturalism
But I think
that
that's
day. I
good, though,
really
isn't
did.
it? That is what being like
White saviour complex goes too far.
Well, I have to tell you a funny story about that. because
marital correctness gone.
Years
Yeah,
ago,
true. Yeah.
I hung out briefly with the artist Valley Myers. And I told her that story. I said, I married this guy who was here on a tourist visa. He was from Iran. He was a Muslim. He didn't speak English. And she said, what are you, darling? The Red Cross. And it just because there's so
Red
much about her
Crescent,
and me at the
Crescent.
time.
Right,
Red Crescent.
Yeah.
But I got married at the Melbourne Mint. In those days, that's where you did the registry
like that.
weddings.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen there any longer. But when I go past, I look back and I think, what was I thinking?
Can you get a commemorative coin for your wedding? Is that what they do? Is that the thing the Mint does? I don't know.
We got married on Spring Street where the government marriages happen now, and because we both look like idiot clown children, the guy controlled the marriage, that guy, says all the
celebrant,
stuff,
yeah.
looked past us to my very sensible brother and his very sensible girlfriend, went, and who's getting married today? And us who, I bought a hat at the last minute because I'm like, I need a hat to get married in, I don't know why. It was it's us, hi.
why not?
And he just kind of went, when a sensible person is managing a situation, he was like, Okay.
Making good decisions then, are we? You're like, yes, I have been my whole life.
My whole life. Now, so you didn't like your marriage?
I didn't like my marriage. I really didn't, and I've gone off the whole notion. I have big problems with marriage, full stop, because I think it contributes to mandatory heteronormativity and pair bonding, and even though you have your own sort of marriages,
I know, but it's
the
very
concept.
hard to. I mean, I don't know if you found this. It was so hard to find stuff that wasn't the default.
Yeah, I mean, but I find you just renovate it, I think this is how you kind of fix a lot of that old bullshit. Is that people who don't believe in it come in and make it their own. They dress exactly how they want. They wear beautiful hats. They walk down the aisle to the theme from Jurassic Park, and instead
or to Winter's Love by Animal Collective.
Yeah, they like you celebrate your family and you take ownership of the institution, which is, I think, it's what Conservatives were worried about us doing, and we did. Corey Bernardi was right. We did include a dog in our wedding ceremony.
Yeah, so you're marrying dogs and pizzas and pop
I love that.
plants.
It's like just people, mate. Just people.
Just
No, mate, we're not doing that. That's not what we. Chill out, Corey. It's sad that he's gone. But
So what are your tips? Like, do you have, say, 5 tips for renovating marriage?
So I think firstly, recognise that every bit of the institution can be whatever the hell you want it to be. Yes. Like my partner is very open-minded, perhaps too much. Like I was like, why don't we arrive while skydiving? We don't skydive. We don't do anything like that. But I was like, what if that? And he was
wanted a sense of occasion.
Yeah, he was like,
drama.
That's an idea.
Terrified?
It's not a good idea, but technically it is an idea. We were talking about a greyhound chariot. We were going to get another, rescue a whole bunch. Might have been unethical though in various ways. But basically, with every bit of it, we said, well, what do we actually want to do? And anyone who tried to tell us, no, I've got to say, just about no one was like, oh, are you sure about why do you don't want to buy a ring? You want to use an heirloom? Like if you...
I'm Greek, so we had questions every step of the way. My mum was like, you need a wedding cake. We're like, we're not going to have a wedding cake. We've got like desserts at the thing. She's like, I'll pay for it. So we had a giant, and you can still Google this, a giant gold hedonism bot from Futurama.
Awesome.
So if you look up hedonism bot wedding cake, our one.
I think
she was mad.
You can take all of those institutions, every bit of it, and you can make it your own. And who really cares what other people think, really? And when you take ownership of something, you change it. Yeah.
Take ownership, you change it, renovate it.
So we wrote our own vows. I'd recommend writing your own vows. It doesn't matter what you say if you mean it. Like, that's beautiful. Trust
I'll be crying
the
anyway.
people who love you to give speeches. Don't necessarily go with tradition, because the tradition is like, then the best man, then the dude, then this dude, then this dude. Trust the women in your life. They all gave such good speeches. Everyone
So the
nailed it.
phrase "take ownership," there's something that is implied. I know you were talking about taking ownership of a person, but that's what marriage used to be.
I know.
So
and
how do you
stuff that?
combat your unconscious expectations that this is now my person? Because that's sort of what marriage does, isn't it?
It's just that we're on the
Or
same
does it?
team. It's reframing it. So instead of this is my person, it's we're both on the same team now. And so I think doing that, and also before we go, another thing, working out, do you want a party or do you want a partnership? So if you want a giant party, just have a house party or just have like a fancy love party. But if you just want to kind of quietly, if you're both introverts, you want to just quietly be together for the rest of your life, just get government married and then be like, hey, we got married, everyone.
We've ticked the box, we're okay.
Yeah.
I also think there's some people who can't but help when they move through the world thinking in terms of, no, this is mine. I own this, that bit over there. Like people like, I won't name names, but lots of Conservatives, they think of the world in those patriarchal ways. And if you don't think of the world in those kinds of ways, you don't have to use those terms and think about it differently. To Tom and I...
So you can still take part in the rituals that are traditional, but you make them non-traditional, you make them their own. So it doesn't mean that you're reinforcing or suppressing.
Grab it, chop it, have it, change it.
Sometimes merely by being there and turning up, that's a radical act. Like I think as husbands, we felt like by getting married was an act of protest to a degree.
Because you now could, and because of marriage equality, and it was
and we'd
an
fought
important
for that
step
right.
to
We
take.
worked hard for it, and it mattered to us.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Toby Halligan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liza Dezfouli.
And thank you
pleasure.
to Scott Morrison.
Scotty for marketing.